of Enough is Enough campaign by A.I.I. Learning Foundation. A.I.I. Learning Foundation is an educational enterprise dedicated to providing skill-based quality education to students from all walks of life. Having worked with 150 plus institutions and 10,000 plus students, our aim is to help young adults believe in the power of knowledge and wisdom by helping them bridge the gap between theory and practice. To throw more light on our work, we present a short video. If I could get the screen share,
Done.
please. Sorry, there are some technical issues. Just give me a second, I'll figure that out.
I make a difference realizing that I'm doing something different. But we are conditioned in a society which wants us to do something different. But when we do something different, we are viewed as very, very, very different.
Should I give you their conference call?
The Indian education system has given various contributions to the world. These include Ayurveda, Yoga, Takshila, the Nalanda University, and the Vedic education system. It has even taught the world how to calculate and to measure. But with the fast growing development of time, we forgot how to keep up with it and forgot the real meaning of quality education. Aspirant learning provides a platform to students to transcend boundaries of our course syllabi and resort to unconventional and interactive measures, which help them not just learn academic proficiency but also become a stepping stone for their holistic development. At Aspirant, we teach them skill based education and we make them the better citizens of tomorrow.
is the key is indeed a motto heard by many but practiced by a few. Connecting rural and urban stagnation in the sector withstands our motto. Aspirant learning has endeavored the path of bringing the change and making the vision as a mission. That is, enabling education to every child while bridging up the idea of quality education to one and all and providing its access to everyone. One step at a time is what we believe in. Hereafter, working with you, by you, and for you towards enabling SDG 4 is where we would stand with United Nations, covering 6 states of India as of now and aiming towards a better world in terms of education.
We at A.I.I Learning Foundation observed April as the Sexual Assault Awareness Month with the theme Enough is Enough, and are delighted to welcome you all to the culmination of the same. Enough is Enough was a campaign that focused on having conversations around difficult topics and spreading awareness around sexual abuse. The campaign started off with a vox pop and was filled with numerous events undertaken by us, like a webinar, a visual media message, and Instagram lives. As they say, Ant bhala to sab bhala. Thus, taking forward the custom set by the campaign, we have decided to culminate this month by holding an intellectual panel discussion with highly distinguished panelists. We have with us today Mr. Aruneshwar Gupta, who is a senior advocate in the Supreme Court, arbitrator and peace mediator, and a promoter of conflict-free individuals. He has practiced law since 1976 in the Supreme Court and has also represented clients in USA and Singapore. We welcome you, sir.
Next, we have with us Ms. Komal Malhotra, who has 23 plus years of experience in human resource consulting and has been instrumental in setting up the Human Resource Advisory services at Think Through Consulting. Her unparalleled understanding of HR policies and processes and their impact has helped several renowned organizations leverage their HR functions to their maximum potential. We welcome you, ma'am.
Last, but definitely not the least, we have Dr. Urna Sarkar Datta with us, who is an assistant professor of sociology at Kamla Nehru College, University of Delhi, for the past 12 years. She has done her PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University with her area of research being sociology of consumerism, a study of select malls in Kolkata. She specializes in gender studies, sociology of consumerism, sociological thinkers, and techniques of ethnographic filmmaking. We welcome you, ma'am.
We are truly delighted and honored to have you all with us here today, sir and madams. Now we have the floor open for our panelists to present their thoughts and views on the topic of sexual abuse. Mr. Aruneshwar Gupta, we would first like to know about your opinion on the matter of sexual assault.
So you can unmute yourself.
Sorry. So can I hear the question again?
Yeah, so we would like to know your views about sexual assault.
Sexual assault. So what you are asking is a very, very, very wide question. Because the whole issue of a sexual assault, I would, divide the whole discussion into two parts. One is a civil relationship. Men and women are two genders which exist on this earth, almost in equal number, and they are there to have good relationships. And according to my understanding, 98% of them has good relationships. So there are mixed relationships, there are good relationships, and there are abrasive relationships. So when we talk abrasive relationship, that is what we are talking of assault. But before going to that, let me just open up, because this is, when the relationship really starts between two human beings, with different genders, it is like acquaintance, then it becomes friendship, then it becomes intimacy, then it becomes love, then it may end up into marriage, or marriage may come early and love may come later. So these are all good relationship, as we call it. The second, when it comes down to assault, it is where the relationship starts, there are reasons for, there's a reason for everything. But there are issues where the male member normally he does not take the relationship in the right spirit. So it starts from virtually from from ogling or looking or looking with a sexual intent at a woman. Then it comes up to a stalking. Now these are all these are, if you see, they are as a result of senses. Because I always say, women, every girl, she got the sixth sense when she is about 14, 15, and that is where she starts, become conscious of the existence of her gender. So that is the time when she starts feeling those eyes moving around, and hence moving around. But that's, according to me, the first assault on every female that she has to bear. Most of them are in the within the family itself. And from there, when you enter the college and when you enter the profession, it continues to go on and on and on. So moves from stalking. It may go to sexual harassment at workplaces. Then there can be physical assaults. And then ultimately it may end up in some cases in what I always called as, I always said, murder. Rapes were much more serious than murders, because the trauma of a rape which a woman has to go is a very, very serious issue, because that's something which bears throughout her life. And in a murder, the person is already dead. So it doesn't, it matters. But then again, rape is much more serious because that life. And then the whole Me Too movement started, and a lot of people came out with and I wrote a whole blog on that, saying these things are not cannot be accepted at all. So that's my first take on your
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for
sexual
your
assault.
input, sir. Ms. Komal, what are your thoughts about sexual abuse?
Hi, thank you so much, Saina. When they were introducing me, there was a little part that got left out, which is that I am a POSH advisor and trainer. POSH, essentially, I'm not sure how many of you know, is prevention of sexual harassment at workplaces. So, I would probably, like what sir is saying, is very, very important at a personal context, but where you come in professionally, and since all of you are going to be entering workplaces and various corporates soon in your lives, so I would like to draw your attention to sexual harassment happening at workplaces. Now, how many of us here in this panel are aware of the act that was kind of enforced in 2013, which is the POSH Act? Has anyone heard of that? Okay, somebody said yes, put on mute. All right. It is essentially, the name of the act is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. And has anyone heard of this? Would anyone like to decode the title of the act? Should I type it on the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many of us have heard of this act? How many of us are aware of this act? Would anyone just read it and decode it? What kind of harassment does this act talk about? Is it any kind of harassment, or is it harassment which is sexual in nature?
I hope I am audible.
Yes, of course.
I'm not sure about it, but I guess it is with respect to sexual harassment at workplace.
Perfect.
And
yeah, that's right, Khushi. And it's sexual harassment, as you can see it in the act, the name of the act itself. It's sexual harassment. It's not gender neutral. This act was essentially, recognizes only women as victims. And of course, this is for, sexual harassment at workplaces. So wherever you go in to work. And in fact, you would be happy to know that the origin of this, the genesis, is actually a place in Rajasthan called Bassi with Bhavri Devi, who got, gang raped. And because of that, the Vishakha guidelines were formed in 1997. And of course, after the Nirbhaya case happened in 2012, in 2013, this act was made. And it would be of interest to know. So do you know, as per a survey of the conducted by the Economic Times in 2018, around 15,000 respondents, how many people actually agreed that either they themselves or one of their family members experienced sexual harassment at workplace? Would anyone like to take a guess at the number or at the percentage?
Above 50%.
Okay. I'm sure it is much more than 50%, Saina, in actuality, but the reported figures were about 32%. And out of this 32%, do you know how many had the courage to report these cases either to their human resource department or the internal committees? Just take a wild guess.
Ma'am, hardly 1 or 2% cases are reported.
Very true. But out of this, the answer was about 22% of these cases got actually reported. So a lot of times, Muskan, I think you wanted to say something?
Ma'am, they've spoken.
All right, okay. Sorry, yeah. So would anyone like to just give me 5 guesses as to why most cases are not reported? What could be the reason?
Ma'am,
Aditya, yeah.
can I speak?
Sure. I'm sorry, I can't see it. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So there are various reasons why cases are not reported. First of them being this societal pressure about the so-called reputation of a family.
Great.
The another being, if any person is reporting these kind of incidents, then that particular person is seen with different eyes.
Yes.
And the other could be like it would affect the future or the career of a child, because once these kind of incidents happen with a child and then relatives or other people get to know about these kind of things, then it affects their personality and the way people treat them.
That's beautiful. That's beautifully expressed. I'm very happy. Yes, quickly bang on. A lot of cases are not reported because sometimes people feel embarrassed, they blame themselves. But a lot of times, what happens is people are unable to actually identify that this is sexual harassment. They take it as a given. So they don't even realize, they feel ye to chalta hai, and corporate sector culture mein this is accepted. Boss coming and slightly flirting with you, or a colleague coming and just saying something to you, or maybe showing you something graphic on the phone. But a lot of things is also you're unable to identify that this is sexual harassment, and people do not even report because they firstly do not know at times where to report, who to report, and at other times they don't trust the system. And so, yeah, this is why they get unreported. But as you enter, the Sexual Harassment Prevention Act actually recognizes any woman of any age as a victim. So even if you're visiting a workplace, or if you're just there to meet someone, and somebody from that organization harasses you, you can easily go and file a complaint in their internal committee. So just one last thing before I sign off is I want you to remember this acronym called SAFETY. Instead of spelling it as SAFETY, you spell it as SAFETI. And I'll just tell you the full form of this. These are mandatory requirements for employers under the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act. S is for creating a safe working environment. All employers, all companies, all organizations are now mandated to provide a safe and conducive working environment and treat sexual harassment as a misconduct under their rules. That is S. A is for annual report. All organizations need to file details of the number of complaints that they receive in a year, details of what their disposal status is, what action was taken by the company, how many cases are pending, and how many number of workshops did they organize for the year in terms of sensitizing employees and the internal committee. F is for forming an IC or an internal committee. Any organization with 10 or more than 10 employees has to necessarily form an internal committee as per the Act. And E is for employee sensitization. All organizations are periodically supposed to carry out training programs for their employees to make them aware about their internal policy on prevention, prohibition of sexual harassment, and also to train them on acceptable and unacceptable workplace behaviors. T is for training of the IC, which is the internal committee. And of course, I is for internal policy. All organizations from 2013 have to necessarily formulate and widely disseminate an internal policy which treats sexual harassment at workplace cases, and they have to have either a policy or a resolution or a charter. And lastly, every organization has to display at prominent places the names of all the members of the IC. So please keep this in mind wherever you go, wherever you face. There's always a legal mechanism that you can kind of depend on to take care of your well-being whenever you're either interning or you're working at any organization, be it a private company, be it an NGO, be it a school, be it a hospital, be it a sports institute, wherever. So everything is covered. Yeah, it's SAFETI. Safe environment, annual report, formation of a committee to hear the complaints, employee sensitization. T is for training of the internal committee, and I is for an internal policy development.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for an enlightening report.
I think we are actually running short of time, so we call upon Dr. Urna for her views on the topic of.
Ma'am, you are on mute.
Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so we are talking about the concept of sexual assault. There are two things that come to my mind, like when we are talking about the concept of assault, and these two things that come very strongly is, one is the concept of consent, and the second is the concept of silence. Because the concept of consent is something which is extremely important, and the kind of society that we are in, and we all know that it's we have a very strong patriarchal order which is prevalent in the society, and that patriarchal order is based on this concept of domination and hierarchy of men over women. And as a result, what happens is that through the process of socialization, and we all teach this to our students, that at a very, the day when you're born, you're decoded as per your gender. So are you a male, are you a girl, are you a boy, with a code of pink and blue, and that continues throughout the life. And this process is starting at such a young level, that at a young age, that the child does not have the idea to think otherwise if the family is not socializing it to the sensitive, gender sensitive norms. So this is what happens, is that the society demarcates between men and women, not only in terms of the body structures, but also in terms of how you are going to think, how are you going to act, what are you going to wear, what are you going to study, and so on and so forth. So this not only is the division, but the worst part is the hierarchy. And that is where we see that, it's not just a division between the sexes, it is the division as well as a hierarchy where we say that men are over women. And from here stems the concept of it's my right. So men are socialized into the concept of subjugating women. So we have these idioms: boys don't cry, boys are, supposed to be very strong. Why are you crying like a girl? So they are continuously socialized into displaying their masochism, their sexuality. So that is considered as acceptable norms for the society. While for women, it is always like you have to be subdued, you have to be controlled, you have to be, you have to follow the orders and dictates of the family and the society per se. Otherwise, your dignity, your individuality will be at threat. So this is where it stems. And I'm just going back to see, understand the concept of sexual assault, that in many cases, if you look into the kind of the nature of assault, it has, the concept of violence has been normalized in our society to such an extent. I'm sure many of you would have seen the movie Thappar, that, and people's reaction was like, why is she making such a hue and cry about just a slap? Because from the times of William Shakespeare Taming of the Shrew, that, you're supposed to, beat your wife, get her subjugated. So marriage is not just a partnership between a man and a woman, it is a kind of a right or a privilege of a man over a woman. And hence, when it comes to the concept of sexuality, it's man's control over women's body, women's reproductive life, when to have it, how to have it. Women has no say in. So sexual assault is something which is not even seen as a problematic issue till a long period of time. Till certain incidents happened, people came out and voiced their protests. So that's where my second thing comes in, which is the silence. That women are made to silence. The socialization is such that women are told to, aisa hota hai, it's kind of a irregular, you must have done something wrong. So this is one area in the sexual assault where it is the victim who is first questioned. What were you doing? Where were you? What were you wearing? So this is where the problem lies. Because in any other cases, if it's a theft or some other murder, it would be always the perpetrator who would be questioned, who would be looked like, he or she must have done something wrong. But when it comes to sexual assaults, sexual acts, rape, violence in terms of the women issues, it is always like she would have done something to instigate the other. While
Thank
it's,
you.
yes, so that's the, the perception of the society, which is very problematic, and we need to change that. Thank you.
Thank you for your well thought answer, ma'am. We completely agree. Now, moving forward, I'd like to invite Miss Khushi Jain to address the audience.
Thank you so much, Saina, and thank you so much to all the panelists for presenting their views on the topic sexual assault and how and what it is happening in the country as of now. Country is a small word, in the world as of now. One question that I was actually, looking forward to, and I really want to ask is basically when all the three panelists talked about what sexual assault is and what is happening, I it's very sad to think that few people in the audience must have connected to the scenarios of what has happened, or how actually what is sexual assault. They have a basic knowledge about it, but one thing where we are actually missing upon is the key aspect of awareness. We don't know that what is consent. Consent lies into three stages: before, during, and after the assault or the rape. Or how actually when we are at workplace, is it the sexual assault that is happening inside, and if the colleague is outside, will it be a sexual assault at workplace or not? So these are the few of the questions that always revolve around my head, and I really tend to think, even if we talk about proper legalities, then is it the system that is fighting for us, or is it the system we are fighting for? So, like, there's a lot of contradictory binaries in my mind. If all the three panelists could actually, in their respective fields, could actually throw some light upon this question. So yes. uh any one of you who would like to initiate?
Hi, Khushi, that is a
Okay.
very, sorry, please go ahead.
Oh, let me just add it because what Khushi is saying is very, very interesting. Uh, in fact, the assault uh, begin, and that is, was so beautifully portrayed by Umaji, that the first assault is a very mental assault and a very subtle assault. When you divide between pink and blue, and you divide between, I would say, dolls and cricket. There's a, but I have my slight thought on that, that whether that is assault or that is a logical difference. Because I always say, the gender difference are acceptable. They exist. So you can't say there are no two genders. So the existence of genders is a social structure, is a natural structure. But the assault is when you stop respecting the difference, when you stop respecting the other side. And actually, the real assault is wherever there's a suppression of will. So my definition of law, I always say that law is that whenever there is a suppression of a will or there are unheard cries, some statute has to come up. So we try to, the statutes try to put chains and shackles around people to put them into a regulatory mechanism so that they can, all that Komalji said, all that workplaces, all these shackles came up as a result of Vishaka. It also came up because of that other judgment of Gill, because that is where the first women sexual harassment at workplace started. So these are all created because that suppression of a will was there, and that will which was suppressed slowly. I always say, when you put things under the carpet, they burn, and finally they burn the carpet, and they also burn the curtains, and they burn the whole house. So as we continue to put every thought under the carpet, it is a dangerous thing. So wherever there is moment, there is any feeling that there's something going wrong or something, this has to be respected. When what said, the victim has to be made, victim has not to be made feel guilty. The victim will have to come out and say, look, this is wrong, this is right. I don't take it anymore. That's my take on it.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Komal ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kushi. Answering the first part of your question, at a workplace, we are using the word assault. Assault is very strong. It's very, conspicuous. You can make out there's an assault happening. Sometimes sexual harassment is so subtle, you don't even know it is happening. And it may be, in the form of quid pro quo or a hostile environment. Quid pro quo would essentially mean, somebody is making an advance towards you, your senior. And if you're not allowing him or her to do what he wants, or not, going out on a date or going out for coffee, and then he kind of doesn't give you a good appraisal. So it can be like that. Or maybe if you're going out with him, he's giving you that appraisal. Sexual harassment, sometimes it is so subtle that you don't even get to know. The second part of your question, that, what are the mechanisms? So there are essentially two mechanisms that you can depend on, like sir is saying. One is, of course, the legal mechanism, wherein, you can depend on the Indian Penal Code, IPC, and file a complaint with the police. The second mechanism is, of course, the POSH Act, which is mandatory for every organization with 10 people working in it. And how to define a workplace? Suppose you're in a bus or you're in a vehicle provided by a cab provided by an organization, and somebody assaults you there. So is that covered or not? So I would just like to share my screen and just a moment and tell you as to what all is covered in a workplace. Is this visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So as per the Act, this is the definition of a workplace. The first, it can be a hospital or a nursing home. Even our houses are covered. So under the POSH Act, even our domestic workers, the female maids which come and work for us and help us, even they are covered. Private sector organizations are covered, service providers, NGOs, government organizations, sports institutes, everything. But when you see the first box, it also says any place visited by the employee arising out of or during the course of employment, including transportation provided. So even if you are in a transport provided by an organization or you're out for work, for any activity arising out of or during your employment, you are very well covered within this act. And the workplace also covers both organized and unorganized sectors. And unorganized is any enterprise employing less than 10 workers or any enterprise owned by an individual or self-employed. So the definition of workplace as per the act is so wide that wherever you are getting harassed during your work, you can, kind of check if you're covered, and most probably you would be.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope like people got a clear idea about workplace, because I personally also had this, question in mind that will, as soon as I exit out of my gate, will that be like gate of office, will that be a workplace or not? So this slide really helped a lot. Um, for Urna ma'am, I would also like you to, throw light upon this question with regards to, is it like society that is setting up the norms and we are just fitting in, or are we actually trying to, question the norms of awareness? Because it's like we are sitting and we just tend to assume that this is how we can actually spread awareness, but awareness with what regards and how to actually spread it in terms of society is a basic question, because obedience, compliance, conformity are very of the, basic terminologies that are instinct within the base of the society, where we are not actually able to spread the awareness. So what are your views on that, ma'am?
Yes, thank you. That's a very interesting question, and it is actually a it's actually a question which should be taken up, because we are aware that sexual assaults take place, but the first thing that needs to be understood is what is all about sexual assault. So consciousness, raising consciousness and awareness goes hand in hand. How do one do it? It is, I would start at the level of family, because being a sociologist, my family is my core. I start with that. So there should be, what I feel is the awareness should be started at the level of family and taken up by the other institutions of the society. And what do I mean by the other institutions? That is education, which is one of the which is basically the one which builds the individual. Along with that, media, which plays a very important role in influencing the individual. So these three institutions play a very important role in creating the awareness. Now, when I'm talking at the level of family, I would say it is the role of the parents to sensitize the child about, and I think to a certain extent, we have been doing a study on the concept of, good touch, bad touch, which has been developing in some of the schools also, and it is good to see the schools also bringing up. But unfortunately, the schools do not dwell too much on the concept of sex education, because that is still considered as a taboo. So I would suggest that at the level of school, which is our secondary agent of socialization, family is one stage. Second is the education system, which is the schools. They mold the minds of the individual, they create better individuals. So that is where the awareness has to come up. And obviously colleges, and I'll be happy to say that at our university we have a course on gender sensitization, and unfortunately, it is still not considered as a mandatory course for all, unlike the environmental sciences. But I think such kind of courses should be, considered as open for all, so that it creates awareness and also dialogues. That is what is important, because it's not just awareness, but also speaking out, understanding the issue, resolving the issue is something that is important. Secondly, is the concept of awareness through the media. Now, we have seen media playing a lot of stereotype roles, but of late, we are also seeing some changes. There are a lot of positive ads, that are coming up in the media, and campaigns that are, taken up in social media. I'm sure many of you know about the Me Too campaign, though it has fizzled out the way in which it had, started. But that tempo has to be, going on. It has to be taken up. But I think these are some of the platforms which are, ways in which creating the awareness. I wanted to share one advertisement, maybe, if I can. Is it possible?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
It's a very good advertisement, which I thought of, which is a very positive kind of encouragement, which I'm trying to, talk about. Is it shareable now? I
Yes,
guess.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Just hold on.
पता है कल ऑफिस जाते हुए क्या हुआ? किसी ने मुझ पे पॉपकॉर्न फेंका। देखा तो 2-3 लड़के बाइक पे बैठे थे। फिर मेरा पीछा करने लगे और छेड़ने लगे ये कह के कि अरे मैडम, आपके बॉल में मेरा पॉपकॉर्न अटक गया है, जरा वापस कर दो ना। क्या करे, कितनों को समझाए। Share your story with your son. Don't let what happened to you happen to another woman. To share your story, click on this link.
Yes. So this is what I'm trying to, talk about. That, dialogue. It's awareness starts with dialogue, and that is, what is the role of this family, education institution, media. Media should be much more responsive in the way in which portrayals are happening.
Yes, ma'am, indeed. And this ad really did talk about importance of media, because the message was very clear cutly, people could actually relate to how they can spread awareness. It's more than spreading the word, it's about taking a step. That also comes into awareness. And thank you for really putting forth light on that. Now over to Tanisha and Saina.
What a thought-provoking discussion. We are immensely grateful to have you as our panelists. Thank you, Madam and Sir, for sharing your opinions and views. Poetry is thoughts that breathe, words that burn. It is an echo asking a shadow to dance. Poetry is what happens when nothing else does. We have Ms. Vishali Panwar, President of NSS of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, Delhi University, and a part of the Poetry Society. She'll be reciting the spontaneous flow of powerful feelings through Ms. Anupama's poem titled Kal or Aaj. The floor is yours.
Good evening, one and all present here. I, Vishali Pamar, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Good morning to one and all present here. I, Vishali Pamar, I'm here to present a poem on the given title, Sexual Assault. I hope I'm audible, guys. There's some network issue. Please bear up with me. Really sorry for the same.
No issues, no issues. You can take your time.
Firstly, I'm glad to be here and recite such a wonderful poem in front of you. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me this opportunity. Now, here's my poem. एक बहुत पुरानी घटना है. एक चिता पर सती सोई थी. अपने अरमानों पर रोई थी. जो चला गया वो चला गया. जो चला गया वो चला गया. वह क्यों मृत्यु श्रेया में खोई थी. वह क्यों मृत्यु श्रेया में खोई थी. क्यों औरत को मरना पड़ता था. क्यों औरत को मरना पड़ता था. क्यों जीवन खोना पड़ता था. क्यों जीवन खोना पड़ता था. ये तो कल की बात है. ये तो कल की बात है. पर सोचो आज बदले हालात हैं. पर सोचो आज बदले हालात हैं. अब तो नहीं मरती तुम. अब तो नहीं मरती तुम. चिता में जिंदा नहीं जलती तुम. चिता में जिंदा नहीं जलती तुम। वहां मरना एक बार कहा था, वहां मरना एक बार कहा था, वह जलना भी एक बार का था, वहां जलना भी एक बार का था। अब रोज मरना पड़ता है, अब रोज मरना पड़ता है। और हैरानी की बात है, हमारा यहाँ मरना किसी को नहीं दिखता है, हमारा यहाँ मरना किसी को नहीं दिखता है। क्या बात करती हो, क्या बात करती हो। उन गांव में कोई जाता नहीं, उन गांव में कोई जाता नहीं, जहां प्रेम के पाप, जहां प्रेम के पाप को चीर हरण के पुण्य से धोया जाता है। और चीर हरण ना जाने कब शील हरण बन जाता है, जिसे करके पुरुष अपना न्याय निभाता है। अच्छा चलो माना, यहाँ ये गांव की बात है, लेकिन शहरों में तो सारे ठाठ हैं। हाँ, गांव में हाथों में हाथों से चीर हरण होता है, यहाँ तो आंखें ही सारा काम कर देती हैं। अक्सर अक्सरें मशीनों की तरह अक्सरें अक्सर मशीन मशीन की तरह बदन में गड़ती जाती है, कहीं बॉस कैबिन में झांकता है।
I guess there's some network issue. I'll just continue the poetry so that it's not break the flow of the thoughts that we were having. Wait a second. Yes. अक्सर बॉस कैबिन में झांकता है तो कहीं के ड्रॉर बैक मिरर से ताकता है। इनकी नजरों से बचकर हम निकल जाते हैं। जब सुरक्षित घर में घुसते हैं तो क्या वहां तो तुम्हारा राज है, ये भी तुम गलत हो। सुरक्षित घर की चार दीवारों में क्या पता कुछ सही हो ना हो। कहीं पिता समान ससुर लज्जित करता है, शब्दों की जरूरत ही नहीं, इशारों से ही दिल धक करता है। वह कहकर जब पति मेरे बात को टालता है तो मन पिता के प्यार से भर सवेर से ढूंढता है। तुम सोचो, जब मैं पिता, भाई और पति के स्पर्श का अंतर कर सकती हूँ तो क्या उन आंखों की भूख नहीं पड़ सकती हूँ। पहले सती होती थी, आज भी होती है। कहीं बस थी, कहीं कार है, कहीं घर है, कहीं मंदिर। मंदिर में भी नहीं बचते हम, वहां भी पुजारी प्रसाद समझकर भगवान को चढ़ा देता है। So this was a very small poetry given by one of our recognized teachers who really wanted to share her views with respect to sexual assault and what actually women, men, and other genders also go through. So this was a small poetry and a token of appreciation towards the campaign because we took a step towards it. Over to you, Tanisha and Saina. Wow, what a beautiful message put across. No, art passes our conscience and goes directly to our feelings in the way a film does. Now, we'd like to present a visual media message and conclude our campaign through a short video, compiling all the efforts made, people involved, and events that were held under our campaign.
This campaign has been a great journey for me and the whole team. I hope our small initiatives during the campaign contributed to some amount of change. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the speakers and panelists we had, during the campaign, making it a resounding success. I thank Mr. Aruneshwar Gupta, Ms. Komal Malhotra, and Dr. Urna Sarkar Datta for sparing their valuable time from their busy schedules and gracing this occasion with their presence. Today, we had the opportunity to hear your thoughts, which have enlightened our minds.
I am immensely thankful to Mr. Priyanshu Grover and Mr. Adarsh Kumar Singh for being our pillars of strength and guiding us throughout. I also extend thanks to all the team members of Aspirant Learning for their enormous cooperation. And of course, a huge thanks to the audience without whom this event would have not been possible. With this, we would like to culminate our campaign Enough is Enough, but the struggles would never stop. We stood for the survivors, we do, and we will. Let's keep advocating for change and justice, and justice for the survivors of sexual assault. Thank you so much, thank you so much, everyone, for your presence here today.
Thank you so much, panelists. Really means a lot. Audience, you all can also leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining, everyone.